Welcome to the Monday Agenda. Today we are most privileged to have the Ambassador of Denmark in Tanzania, His Excellency Einar Jensen, with us. You must realize, or you must have seen, that the Danish Embassy in Tanzania has been doing a tremendous work towards supporting the government achieve its development goals. And today we are here with the Ambassador to basically hear the story that the Danish Embassy has been working with the government of Tanzania. Welcome to the Monday Agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure
So I understand that the embassy, or the country through the embassy, has been doing a lot of work for a long time in Tanzania. And in your opinion, I know you've been here for 3 years, but in your opinion, do you think we're making any progress?
Yes, certainly I do so. I think if you just look at the financial figures, I mean the GDP per capita has increased from $200 to more than 900 in the past 20 years. The life expectancy rate have gone up by more than 20 years since independence. Child mortality is halved. So there are a lot of good indicators for Tanzania, most certainly. And I'm happy to say that Denmark has been a close friend of Tanzania for more than 50 years.
50 years? Okay. So you've been in Tanzania since after independence?
Just after independence.
Just after independence,
yeah.
Okay.
So more than 50 years we've been here. I think we came in 63, 64.
Okay.
So at
About
the very
2
beginning,
years.
yeah. And ever since we have been providing development assistance to Tanzania, it has been one of our key countries. And currently we have an ongoing program, the 2014 to 18, to the tune of $350 million US. It entails a lot of support, just to mention a few of them, with government, strengthening TIA, strengthening public financial management, providing sector body support into Ministry of Finance, providing a lot of support for the health basket, to improve health situation in Tanzania. Also activities around human rights, good governance, and particularly the business sector, which I think we'll come back to later.
Definitely. So this 2014-2018, is it winding this year? Are you renewing?
It's been extended by 1 year, so it will cover next year as well.
Okay.
And then we're expecting to have a next 5-year program on the line, or preparing that from 2020.
And are you so far happy with what you had planned and what is currently happening?
Yes, I think we have achieved some very good results, that you could say, in the health sector. And providing strengthening for the clinics all over Tanzania through the health basket, setting up the link between public-private partnerships.
Yes.
There are many sort of, hospitals, clinics owned by Christian social services or whatever that are not being put to use in the past. Now, by linking them close to government, you have a partnership where the facilities already there can be offered to use for the public in Tanzania in a close partnership between government and be it any of the Christian social service. So that part is, I think, is very impressive to see.
Okay, so you mentioned that there are areas in health. If you could repeat those again, so we capture them very well. The work plan has health, and then
it has got health as a big component. There's human rights, good governance.
Human rights and good governance.
There's a component particularly focused on sector support to Ministry of Finance. Strengthening of TIA, tax collection, public financial management, and so on. And then there's the business sector. And the business sector is actually quite exciting. It's a broad one. Work on the business environment as well. The business environment.
Before we look on to the FDIs in Tanzania, I believe one of the functions of the embassy is also to attract, on behalf of the government of Tanzania, investors to come and invest in Tanzania. The private sector that you've been supporting, the business environment as well. How is the response so far?
I think, I came here with a wish to bring in a lot of investors also. And we are bringing in some. I will give you examples in a minute. But I think for any country, investors look at the investment climate. And to improve the business climate is always crucial. And I'm happy to say that, the work done here in Tanzania with this blueprint on regulatory reforms needed in the business environment is excellent. You have identified what needs to be done. Now it just needs to be implemented. And if a number of these reforms are implemented, I'm sure currently Tanzania is number 137 on the index, World Bank index of doing business, and you should be able to climb down that ladder and be more attractive for investors.
Okay.
So it's all about implementing this. I'm proud to say that Denmark, through Best Dialogue, has been supporting this also.
Okay.
You know,
Yes.
identifying the reforms, printing it, and getting it done. So there's good work to be implemented here.
Okay.
That we definitely think is necessary. To mention then maybe a couple of areas where we are looking at investment.
Yes.
I think for Tanzania right now, it's about getting some of the big investors in. And to mention two of them, we've been working on a wind farm in Dodoma.
Wind farm.
Yes.
Okay.
Any country, also Tanzania, needs to increase, you know, their capacity of energy production.
Okay.
And you have excellent wind.
Okay.
So we got Danish wind providers, you know, Vestas, Emerging Markets Power.
Is it operational yet?
No,
Not
we have had. I persuaded them to come a year and a half ago. A mast has been set up.
Okay.
A 100-meter mast to measure the wind on site, and it's very good. So what is feasible to do out there is a 100 megawatt power plant by wind mills.
Okay.
And
when do we see this operational?
Right now, there is a tender out on, you know, looking for more wind energy here in Tanzania, and I'm sure the Danish, you know, wind providers of like Vestas, Siemens, and so on will participate in that tender also.
Okay.
So we could see that a wind farm where measurement everything is prepared could be start building very soon.
Okay.
And I think the good thing about the wind farms, it doesn't take long for them to come up.
Okay.
And 100 megawatt with only 24 windmills, because each windmill now 4.2 megawatt. So you only need 24 windmills placed, and you can produce 100
And
megawatt.
of course, when you talk about energy, basically for me, I look onto the direct impact onto the Vision 2025 of industrializing Tanzania. To become an industrialized nation, you need energy.
You need
reliable energy, and we have wind. I believe enough wind.
You have good wind, and I think wind is another area where you can actually put up the wind farms without much impact, because you place them in the landscape like this, and you can actually graze your cattle. You can farm around them.
Okay.
In Denmark, we just leave, you know, a small spot around the base of the wind mill. The rest is still continue to be farmed like in the past.
Okay.
So it's clean energy.
Yes.
And
environmental
it doesn't take up
friendly,
space, and environmental friendly.
Okay.
So it's a good choice for Tanzania, and you have got many good wind sites.
Okay.
So I honestly believe you could put up 500 megawatt of wind. And currently you only have 1,500. So, you know, you could, it could be 1/3 of your wind.
We could always use additional source of energy in Tanzania.
Certainly.
And this is renewable energy. Okay.
The other big investment I would like to mention is that I've been working hard on getting a fertilizer plant up and running.
Fertilizer plant, yes.
The situation for your farmers right now is that they have only got 10 kg of urea per hectare on average.
Okay.
In Kenya, they use 30-40. In South Africa, 60-70 kg.
Wow, okay.
And in Pakistan, where you had the Green Revolution, they're up to 180 or 90 kg per hectare of urea.
Okay.
So imagine if we could get a big fertilizer plant here in Tanzania, you could produce your own fertilizer from the natural gas you already have.
Okay.
You could increase that, you know, contribution to the farmers. And we're looking at a plant of 1.3 million tons of fertilizer a year. And currently Tanzania is using around 400,000 tons, so you could actually triple the input the farmers could use.
Okay. So has this already begun? Is it,
we have been negotiating for quite some time with government, and I think we're getting close to the end of it.
Okay.
It's a consortium consisting of Danish Halde Topsøe, Ferrostal from Germany, and Fauji from Pakistan, who is prepared to build this plant.
Okay.
Of course, it's a big investment. It's 1.3 billion US dollars. So a lot of money to be spent, and 5,000 jobs. in that area where it will be situated.
Okay. And agriculture has just been the backbone for the longest time, probably since you've been in Tanzania and even before that. And I'm seeing this as a quick win, per se, in Tanzania, where we're capable of producing our own fertilizer, so that probably also by it being produced in the country, the prices will go low. More farmers can be able to afford vis-a-vis the current situation where we are to import, and then their taxes, and then their transportation to the field. There's always a little margin. But in your opinion, in that with fertilizer and the agricultural sector, do you think Tanzania is making any progress specifically in agriculture sector?
I think Tanzania is. My background is actually agricultural science.
It is.
It's a bit unusual for an ambassador, I could say.
Wow.
But when I travel around Tanzania, I'm amazed by the wealth you have. You have a lot of land, you have a lot of fertile land, you have a lot of space and a lot of farmers out there. So definitely, your farming agricultural sector is the one to be reckoned with. That's the one where you can increase production. That's the one where you can actually hopefully export a lot of goods also. And what we are doing in the agricultural sector, we work with the AMDT, Agricultural Markets Development Trust, to improve the value chains of maize, sunflower, beans, and so on. So some of these things you could export. We work with Financial Deepening Trust to sort of look at how financial transactions can be improved. And then we have also been looking at a couple of sectors particularly, because we say, where are the opportunities?
Yes.
Where are the opportunities?
Yes.
And Denmark is a dairy country. So
it is a dairy country, yes.
So we looked at, the dairy farming here in Tanzania. Right now you are importing milk.
We are, yes.
From Kenya, Uganda, and South Africa, and so on. And you should be exporting. You have 25 million head of cattle. And if more work could be done on this sector. So we did this report looking at, the challenges and opportunities. How can you improve? It's about getting better livestock to it, but it's also about the feeding programs and so on, and the processing. You should be able to export milk, cheese, all the dairy products that we know from Denmark. So with this report, we have pointed to some of the work needs to be done, but also opportunities for investors.
Absolutely.
Another area we looked at is the fishery sector, because you have the sea, you have rivers, and you have lakes.
In vast,
yeah. And I'm happy to report that the challenges and opportunities we have discovered here is that probably your biggest opportunities lies in fish pond farming along the rivers. Tilapia in fish ponds. So we have attracted the first Danish investors, setting up a state-of-the-art fish pond.
Where is it? Where?
Ruvo.
In Ruvo,
okay. It's called Ruvo Fish Farm. And they have started out now with 30 ponds and are moving towards 60 ponds. They have set up a nice hatchery to produce small fingerlings, so that everybody can be supplied with fingerlings, and they also get the right food for it. So I think with good fingerlings, good quality fingerlings, and good quality feed, you can actually produce a lot of nice fish, and the market is endless, because you have Dar es Salaam next door, Bagamoyo, but apart from that, you should be exporting even more than you are today.
I think one of the challenges with the great work that you do through AMDT, the value chain, productivity definitely increases.
It does.
But the challenge that has faced the farmers, post-production, has always been markets. Market in relation to post-harvest losses, because they can't, most of these products, fish for instance, is very perishable. So how do we, access market or increase access to market? So how does the embassy help the government of Tanzania to help or assist farmers to get more access to market, so we can reduce, the post-harvest losses?
First, about the post-harvest loss, sometimes it's about storage.
Storage, yes.
Being able to store it till the right time. And for, you could say, fish, you know, it's about, you know, being able to maybe freeze them or fillet them and prepare them for frozen, you know, sale and so on. I can give you a couple of examples what I did when I was in Bangladesh.
Okay, okay.
I looked at the fishery sector there, and we jointly looked at the needs, more capacity for freezing and so on, more capacity for catchment. We looked at, you know, how to sort of process them also. So after the interventions there, a fillet factory has been set up. So fish are filleted, prepared, frozen, sold on the market. But it also takes the quality assurance part.
Absolutely.
You need to have good institutions to go in and verify the hygiene and the quality of the products, because otherwise you won't get the access into EU.
Yeah.
But so we worked on 2 tiers there in Bangladesh, you know, improving the quality, but also on the control of, you know, hygiene and other things.
Okay.
I think Tanzania is on that track. I think your most obvious areas of possible export, I think it's in vegetables, green, like beans and so on. Some of the green produced for the market. You know, Europe is hungry for fresh vegetables all year round. Okay. And you can produce them all year round. It cannot be done in Denmark when the snow is lying on the ground. So, you know, we need to get it somewhere.
So how do we, I mean, this is a very pertinent information you're sharing. How do we access that market, the European market? I
think, you know, first of all, it's about finding buyers, but it's also get the good quality of produce. And I'm happy to report that just in July, I was down in the Iringa region together with Sakot and also some of the Danish supported areas. We looked at dairy farming from Assam down there. We looked at vegetable producers, and we met a couple of young people that has embarked on selling, you know, beans for Europe. And they set up a good warehouse where they could process them, pack them, and export them. And they got the help from other, you know, exporters in the Russia area to link to some of their buyers. Because it takes the buyers and it takes the producers and it takes the good quality. And it seems to be in place. I was very impressed with what I saw in Iringa and surroundings.
Okay, so we are, in your opinion, we are heading there.
You're heading there. Some of the sectors you are already succeeding in. Now we just need to add a few more.
You're watching the Monday Agenda, and as I mentioned earlier, we are pleased today to have the privilege to interview the Ambassador of Denmark in Tanzania, His Excellency Einar Jensen, with us, and we're looking onto the bilateral relationship between Denmark and Tanzania. And I'm seeing a lot of progress, and from the ambassador, the work that is putting at heart in Tanzania, definitely we are on the right track. The youth and women in most countries, everywhere in the world, the pillars, the strong pillars for a stronger economic base. Do you have any programs, interventions, activities specifically targeting youth and women in Tanzania to empower them to you know, sort of like open up their heart, their minds and eyes and heart to you know, embrace the economic activities in Tanzania?
Yes, we do. I think, first of all, I must say there's a big focus in all the components and all the work we're doing on youth and women. And there's a good reason for it, because every year in Tanzania, more than 800,000 youth is added to the workforce. So you have a tremendous high number of youth coming out on the workforce that need jobs. And if you look at women, I think in the agricultural sector, it's no secret that 80% of the work done there is done by women. So a very important workforce when it comes to agriculture.
Absolutely.
So we recognize it in the work we are doing. And I just want to mention one of the programs that we are engaged in. It's a private agricultural sector support program. PAS it's called. Many farmers cannot borrow money to buy seed, fertilizer, farm equipment.
They are grain ports.
They don't have the collateral, so the banks are not happy. But what PAS is doing business plans together with the farmers that set up what are their needs for capital, for buying seed, fertilizer, and farm equipment.
Okay.
Then they have agreement with the banks, more than 10 banks, that if you bring the business plan to the bank, and PAS provides a credit guarantee of 50%,
Okay.
then the bank will take the other 50% as risk.
Okay. Okay.
And
okay.
last year, I'm happy to report, 170,000 farmers
Wow.
got loans that way.
Okay.
So you can imagine 170,000 farmers, I'm sure there's 5 members in each family.
Yes.
So we're looking at 1 million people around that are actually benefiting directly. But what is more important is whenever a farmer is able to borrow the money for fertilizer, seed and farm equipment, his production
increases, definitely.
And he is able to hire more people. And the estimates are 2 to 3 jobs are created for each loan. Now, if that is true, we are evaluating it right now, then you're actually looking at several 100,000 of jobs created through this one particular program every year.
So to understand, what is the link between PAS and the Danish embassy?
PAS was set up with Danish funding
is that
17 or 18 years ago.
Is that so?
And over these 17, 18 years, they have developed their products. You know, they started out slowly,
yes,
just with one office in Morogoro.
Okay.
Now they're covering all of Tanzania.
Yes.
And in the beginning, they maybe only had agreements with 1 or 2 banks, so that once they had a business plan, they could bring it to one bank and one farmer could get a loan. Now they have business agreements with, I think, 12 or 14 banks.
Okay.
So when they bring the business plan, bank is happy to give the loan to the farmer, and production can be increased.
One of the challenges I personally face, you know, when I visit farmers and projects and activities in the field, Iringa, to mention one of the areas I frequently visited, is the fact that, you know, at the beginning of the season, planting season, farmers are normally bankrupt in, you know, they want resources, loans, etc. While, you know, they probably got the previous season and they've planted, they've harvested, they've probably sold out everything. But why do we, you know, why do farmers constantly require support at the beginning of the season if they, you know, got one, worked very hard, sold probably all their crops, and then at the beginning of the season again, it's like a cycle that does not have an end. When do you envisage a transformation of a farmer whereby, you know, now we do not need loans anymore, we've you know, transformed,
I think, you know, of course, if you have farmers earning a lot of money or become very rich, they might have capital enough.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I would say usually a circle, agricultural circle, is that, you know, when you start your planting seasons, there's high input of fertilizer and seed. You need to buy that.
Okay.
Without having fertilizer and seed, you will not plant and you will have no crop. So you need to have money for that input. Then over the time, if, you know, while the plants are growing, your capital input is not high maybe. There's some, you know, machinery is being used for cleaning, looking after, and you maybe need people and so on. And then you have a harvest season where you sort of also, that you need capital for harvesting and people or machinery to harvest. And then you can sell. Some sell immediately after at maybe a moderate price. Others are able to store it if you have actually storage facility.
Absolutely.
And you can keep it to a time where you get more increased price or higher price. So I think looking over a farm period, you know, high in cost in the beginning, high cost when you're harvesting, and if you're broke, you have to sell everything immediately.
Yeah.
But if you have a little bit more money and storage facility, you can keep it a bit longer and you can get a better price.
Okay.
This is sort of the overview. And I think it will always remain like that. So you will always see that farmers will need money in the beginning of the season, maybe towards the end of the season. Okay. And most of these credits, guarantees we give, or loans, they're less than a year.
They're less than a year.
Yeah. You know, the farmer needs it for, you know, growing season.
Yeah.
From before you start to get it until the end when you have sold your goods.
Okay.
So many of them are less than a year, but of interest rates are also high in Tanzania. So 70 and 80%, you know, it's high.
Okay.
You know, if you have many years, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 years loan, then it, you know, it will cost you a lot. So 1 year is enough for a farmer.
Okay. I hope that one day, you know, with the great interventions of course, the support that the country, Denmark, is rendering to Tanzania. In the bilateral relation, will see a transformed farmer. I normally tease people that, say they give support to the farmers, and say, I've not yet been able to see a farmer in Tanzania who's truly been transformed, in the sense that, well, there are a few. I'm sure you can cite a couple of examples. But, a farmer says, I started with 3 acres, now I'm doing 100 acres. I have machines, I have processing industries, etc. And for me, maybe to reach to that extent, or to see a farmer to that level, not 1, not 2, not a handful, but 170 farmers today, they say, you know what, thank you, Paz, you've given us the base. We've now been able to harvest and save some of the money. Probably we took 100,000 at the beginning of last season. We now just need 50. The next time they only need 25. The next time they say, no, we're good. We have the resources. Do you, in your opinion, see that coming and happening in Tanzania?
I have seen it come already.
Okay.
Because I must say, I'm traveling around every year to different regions and having a look. And I must say, what I've seen in West Kilimanjaro, you could say on the plains there, a lot of good farmers.
Excellent.
Doing barley, doing potato, doing beans, and so on. And they are 20 acres, 20 hectares, 50 hectares, and so on. So they have increased. And, some of them have got to the level where they have good machinery also.
Okay.
And machinery that they are not only use for their own purpose, but then they borrow to other farmers. Of course, the other farmers rent it and pay for it also. But, the level of mechanization is going up.
Okay. Absolutely.
What they can plant and what they can, process is increasing.
Okay.
So I've seen many farmers, doubling or tripling, the farm area.
Okay.
I've seen out, west of Karatu, up on the plains, on the highfield up there, vegetables, onion growth and so on. Big fields of onion growth. That where you actually, in the past did not have the money for it. Now you can increase the number of acres you're doing with onions, and you're selling it, and you bring it to the market, and so on.
Okay.
I've seen it with tea and coffee.
Okay.
I've seen women actually doing cattle herding also.
Okay.
Buying cattle to fatten and selling afterwards. So no, I've seen a lot. I've seen beekeeping also. So there are many good initiatives here in Tanzania, and I have faith that you will succeed, but it will take time. It's not going to be
an overnight.
It's not an overnight.
They say Rome was not built overnight.
If you go back some years, the banks did not have branches out there and could not, provide you with loans. Now there's quite a few more banks having branches covering a good area of Tanzania where you can get your loans.
Okay.
And your financial inclusion has also improved.
Einar Jensen is the ambassador of Denmark in Tanzania, and we're most privileged today to have him in the Monday agenda, looking onto the bilateral relationship between Denmark and Tanzania. And specifically on this couple of few minutes that we have, I would like to particularly focus on the studies that you've done on the fishery and the dairy. We are importing milk in Tanzania. I would have said that statement with my eyes closed like that. With the number of cattle we have in the country, we should be exporting, as you rightly said earlier. And as a study, where do you think, from the study, maybe you can tell us a line or two of where do we go wrong, or where are we technically challenged in terms of being able not to produce enough to export, but rather to reach the heights of importing.
I read earlier in the week also that your Minister for Livestock and Fisheries also was shocked to learn about
He was yesterday on the news as well.
Yes, so that.
Yes.
So I agree with him fully. I think, first of all, it takes a good breed of cattle because, if you take the Maasai cattle, they give very little milk, but they have many cows perhaps. If you want to produce milk, you need heifers, that are have the genes for milk production.
Correct.
And again, from my visit down in Iringa, I went to a couple of farms down there, and they seem to have very good heifers, already there, providing, I think 15, 20 liters of milk per heifer instead of 1 or 2 liters. So that's number one, that you need the good breed of cattle, and you're on the track for that. And so I think, using some good bulls for crossbreeding with cattle you have already will improve that. Then of course you need the processing part of it. You need to be able to store your milk, and I've seen some farmers having good storage facilities now to cool the milk until it's picked up by a truck. And then I visit some dairies down there. I've also visited Tanker Fresh. And you already have a couple of or some good processing facilities where you can process the milk, you can package it, you can make your yogurt and other material. So you're on the right track there. But looking in the back of this one, you will see that number of processing facilities, there are quite a number of them, but many of them are very small.
They're small.
You have figures here where they only process, 2,000 liter a day, 800 liter, 300 liter. And you need processing facilities of 50,000 or 100,000.
Do our cows have the capacity to actually be able to produce that?
Yes, I think within a few years, with the crossbreed and so on already on track, you will be able to pick up.
Because I know Asas, for instance, is always short of milk. Tanker Fresh is always short of milk.
Yeah.
So if we increase the number of these industries and the supply is little,
it will have to go hand in hand.
Okay.
And I saw also in Iringa now they have introduced feeding programs.
Okay.
Where you add
zero grazing.
Yeah, where you add some extra ingredients for the cattle.
Okay.
On top of the grazing that you have as normal input, and that has increased, milk production by quite a lot.
Okay.
In Denmark, we feed our cows intensively.
Okay.
They only go on the grazing in the summer period. In summer, May to September perhaps. Then it's too cold and we keep them indoor.
Okay.
And then they're fed with silage, sugar beets, other ingredients to give the high yields.
Okay.
But of course the yields in Denmark are very high compared to here.
Absolutely.
But you don't need to have the same level of output. If you get
I'm just thinking, as you've mentioned that, what do you have offhand the ratio of cattle in Denmark and Tanzania?
I think
I'm sure we have more than you do.
I think if out of the 25 million you have, I think less than 500,000 are actually good for dairy.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that, by doing some more crossbreed of those you have,
yes,
you can increase that number.
Absolutely.
And you will have a good number for dairy production.
Okay.
So I'm hopeful it can be done, no doubt, but there's work to be put into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any specific, before we go to fish, because probably in relation to that, do you have any specific interventions in Zanzibar?
Not in particular on dairy or so, no. I think it's, in general, I would say Zanzibar goes like for the rest, it's similar challenges.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the fish project, do you have any other besides the one at Ruvu? Well, that's like a pilot.
Ruvu, I think, when you look at the fish report here, what it says, you have maybe more or less used, or you are utilizing what you can from the sea, because the sea is deep when you go further out.
Yeah.
So it's closer to shore where you have the fish, and that is more or less utilized. Of course, you catch some tuna further out and so on. Then you have the lakes.
Yeah.
On the lakes, you could possibly do more fish cage farming, which is done elsewhere in the world. You also have to be very careful, because if too much fish cage farming creates pollution. Because you feed
water pollution.
Yeah, you feed the fish, but there's also feed going elsewhere.
Okay.
So it's a balance, It's a fine balance, but it can be done if it's done the right way. I think where the real opportunities are now is along your rivers.
Okay.
You have a lot of rivers with fresh water.
Correct.
You can pump the fresh water into ponds, and you can have fish ponds with tilapia and other species. And you can feed them in the ponds, and you can have fish production from ponds.
Okay.
To me, that seems like maybe the biggest opportunity right now. And
Okay.
to show that way and lead that way, that's why we persuade the Danish investor to come in.
Okay.
The tricky part about tilapia in ponds is that, you know, if you keep males and females together, they chase each other.
Yeah.
They don't gain weight.
Okay.
But when you do the fingerlings, the small fingerlings, you can give them a treatment in the first few weeks.
Okay.
So that they all become monosex. They're no chasing and they grow fast.
Okay.
So this is what is being done out there, and they have flown in the first fish fingerlings from Uganda, and are now breeding high quality fingerlings at Ruhr Fish Farm, so that many people come and buy these particular fingerlings, and they also buy the fish feed, so that you have the right fish feed and the right fingerlings for a start, and you're off to a quick start.
Okay. Tanzania, it's all up to us to actually look onto these opportunities and embrace them. They've done so much work. They've done a study, and I think this study is accessible online as well.
Yes, it is.
So those interested in dairy, those interested in fishing can have access to this information.
Yes.
And as they say, information is power. Maybe one last, we are on the 19th year since we lost the father of the nation, Mwalimu Nyerere. One word about his legacy from you.
I think he has left a great legacy to Tanzania, because, you know, being here all the years, we have seen how Tanzania has developed. And I think the one thing I would like to emphasize here today is he has pulled your nation together. You are more than 130 different tribes, but you coexist in a very peaceful and conducive way. All along, you are able to work and coexist.
Yes.
If you see in other countries, you know, you have clashes between tribes and clans and so on. You have infights, you have instability and so on. So I think what Nyerere has given this country is the feeling of one people coexisting in Tanzania and accepting each other,
Yes.
and taking it forward. That's a great legacy. It is. Because looking at East Africa, you know, there are trouble in the region, in the sense, you know, refugees from Somalia, refugees from South Sudan, refugees from Burundi.
DRC.
And had it not been for Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania being the stable nations to provide, you know, space for people from neighboring countries, I could not see how this could all, you know, coexist in a good way. So you can be proud.
19 years of Mwalimu Nyerere, the legacy, and we've heard from His Excellency, the Ambassador of Denmark in Tanzania, His Excellency Einar Jensen, with us, who's been with us in the Monday agenda today, and we're most privileged and very grateful for the great work that they do to support economic development of Tanzania. You are watching the Monday agenda, and thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm your host, Makani, and thank you for watching.